artists, and welcome back to Art with Mrs. Kellogg. For today's lesson, we are going to continue celebrating spring by creating spring chicks. And not only spring chicks popping out of eggs. Now I want to tell you a little bit more about the lesson and the art supplies you will need, so meet me over at my workspace and we'll get started. This is the spring chick we're going to create today. Now let me tell you about the art supplies you will need. First, you want to make sure you have your art mat down, that you have a pencil with an eraser, and you want to make sure you have your black Sharpie marker, your oil pastels or crayons, a watercolor set, a brush, a cup filled with water, and some extra paper towels. Now would be a great time for you to pause the video, gather all your supplies and get your art studio organized, and meet me back here and we'll start our art project. Did you set up your art studio and get all your supplies ready? Great. Then let's get started. Today we're creating spring chicks. So the first thing we want to do before we start is we want to make sure that we write our name on our art paper. And we're going to do that in pencil so the marker doesn't show through. So let's all do that now. Once you've written your name in pencil, you're going to take your art paper and you're going to turn it over to the other side. Okay, so our spring chick is going to be popping out of an egg. We want a pretty good size spring chick and egg. So we want to put our guidelines in place. We want to center that little chick. This is going to be the bottom of the egg. I'm just going to kind of sketch that in there. I'm going to make this a little darker so you can see, but you want to make a lighter line because we're going to erase these. And this is about where the top of my chick is going to be, about here. Okay, so I get that in, and later I'm going to erase those. So make sure you get your placement lines in. After you get your placement line in, we're going to start to look for those really important two-dimensional shapes. So it's like I'm going to make this really big smile line. Line is another element of art. I'm not going to let this line make me flatten out that egg. I'm going to round it at the bottom and later I'll erase. And what you want to do is pick up your pencil. You're going to make this curved shape, or I should say curved line. And then once you get what you like, you're going to pick up your eraser and then erase. Okay, so that's what you want to do right now. Remember to pause the video as I move from step to step. I may not necessarily say after each step, pause the video. So now we're going to put the top of the egg in, the cracked looking egg. So you're going to notice the shape that we're going to use for that is we're going to create a bunch of triangles. Now's a good time to watch, then do. Front part of the egg, some can be taller, so meaning I could go up higher, some could be shorter. And remember, if I want really skinny triangles, my lines are close. If I want really wide ones, my lines are further apart. They don't all have to be even because it's a cracked egg. So it's a half oval, half circle with triangles at the top. After you draw that in, the next step is to place the chick. And you're going to see that's another half oval. So I'm going to go past this line. So my next step is to draw in this oval. So I'm going to sketch because I want a tall chick. I'm going to leave a little space on the side. I'm going to put wings there. And I also want to put the back of the egg in. It looks like a little minion shape, and that's what we're going to use. Okay, so once you get it all drawn in, then you're going to erase all the lines. Okay, my next step, what I want to do first is draw the back part of the egg. You can see that here, and what that's going to do is make it look more three-dimensional. Really important to watch, then do. So I'm going to curve that in. And I'm going to curve this. If you want, you can put another little tiny triangle and do something like that. I'm going to take my pencil. Later I can use my marker, but this is the section I'm going to shade in. Now it's time to add some detail. So we're going to add the facial features, the beak and the eyes. Start with the beak first. You could use a kite or rhombus shape or a triangle shape. I'm going to show you the triangle shape. I'm going to round the beak right here. Maybe put little air holes here. Now it's time for the eyes. And I want to make pretty big ovals. If you have your own idea for creating your chick's eyes, that's fine. So you can go ahead and do that. Next step, I want to put highlights in the corner of the eye. So those are going to be small circles. And then I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to shade that in. It always looks funny when we just put the circles. So I want to get those eyes shaded in. And I take my time with that. Next step, it's time for the wings. You can use triangles for that, or you can use ovals. First is placement. The direction of the line shows the direction of the wings. Now come the ovals. Another option again is triangles. Or if you have your own creative idea, go ahead and add that. If you wanted to add hair on the top, you can use triangles or just lines. And I want to put a grounding or horizon line behind the egg. And if you want to add a sun, you can add a sun. Another thing to think about is the egg. So when you go to color, you can use this idea of light going into dark, making more of just a regular natural looking egg. Or if you wanted to add designs into the egg, you can do that. Now for me, I'm going to add some polka dots. But this again is the other option. And if you do the sun, I'm going to use circles and triangles, or you can just add line. When you're done with that, your next step is to trace everything with marker. And for me, I'm going to shade in with the black marker my polka dots and also the eyes. And at that time, I can also make some of these lines into shapes. And you can do that as well if you like. So now would be a great time to pause the video and trace all your lines and shapes. And then we're going to add color and watercolor. Did you finish tracing all your lines and shapes? Great. Now it's time to add some color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add color to my chick, and maybe a little bit into the sun and just a little into the ground. And then the background, I'm going to use watercolor. Now, before you start coloring, remember, you want to look at your colors first. Check that you're using a light and dark color. For example, by making the chick a lighter yellow and then the wings a little darker, I create more dimension and I can see the shapes. Again, color choice is up to you, but look at your colors before you start so you don't wipe any of your shapes out. Okay, now it's your turn. So this is a good time to pause the video. Did you finish adding your color? Now it's time to add the watercolor. So I'm going to do a blue sky, but one thing I recommend is make sure your paintbrush is all wet, put a little water down, and just add a little bit of the paint. So I don't want a big glob of paint. Pretend the paint's a little kitten or puppy, like I'm petting it. And then I'm going to paint going across. And I'm going to spread that paint around. And if I go over my chick, I don't really worry about it because I can always have a paper towel handy that I can blot that out. Remember to clean your brush every time you go to a color. Now it's your turn to paint. And remember, with watercolor, you need to use water. And you don't need to use a whole lot of paint. Have fun painting. Well, that's the end of our lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. And I want you to remember, whenever you are creating art, to relax, have lots of fun, and keep creating.